this card, let me see if I have a picture of it. This one right here is a Get Well card. Split Coast Stampers called it a Building Blocks card. And I really like the idea. So I drew the design in Make the Cut, and I cut out this card. And then I got to thinking, well, I could do this in Popup Card Studio, and it's so easy in Popup Card Studio to at least do that, this part from here to here in Popup Card Studio. And then when I exported as SVG and took it into Make the Cut or into the Puzzle software, I was able to add the extra panel. Now maybe, Susan, maybe there's a way to do that differently in Popup Card Studio. You can tell me afterwards. But this is how I started. I went up to open a new file, and I set the width to 5.5 inches and the height to 3.5 inches. And then I clicked on Create to get this. Now, I want to see it in portrait because it's a tall card rather than a wide card. And I want to start with the bottom here. We'll zoom out a little. And I need to start in a position of 1.5 inches from the bottom side of the card, because my little slots are 3 inches, so half would be on one side and half would be on the other to make 1.5 inch. So we look at this. From here to here is 1.5 inch, and from here to here is 1.5 inch.
Julie?
Yes?
Sorry for interrupting. If you start the height of your card double the size that you really want it, then you only have to chop one side off when you take it in to make the cut.
I make it double the width?
The height.
I'll tell you what, I'll build it this way and then you tell me what to do and I'll do it again. How's that?
Okay.
Because it's easy. I mean, this is really quick. So then, because I have something to learn here with everybody else. You click on this heart, and I'm going to click on polygon to get the rectangle. So I'm going to double click the rectangle. Now I have a rectangle, and I need to resize this rectangle, and I'm going to size it to, right now it's 1/2 inch this way, and I want it to be 1 inch, and I need it to be 3 inches this way. And I'm going to duplicate this because I need 4 of them. I forgot to click enter. I forget in this software you have to click enter after each measurement. So 1 inch high, and the W and the H are reversed, and 3 inches wide. So now I'm going to click on this little plus thing here to duplicate it. And I want one row with 4 columns, and I want to have 1/4 inch in between each. So let's see, which one is it? There it is. 1/4 inch spacing between each one of these. And then I want them to be centered across. Got to accept it first. Oops. We would do it again. Click the plus. We've got 4, and we want spacing of 0.25, and accept. Now I want to center it, and I make sure they go to the back of the card, and they're already there. We can go check by going File, Print Preview, to make sure that there are red lines here. So they're all anchored. And then I want to, with them all selected, I'm going to click on this fold 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth icon from the right, and it folds them back. And accept. And now I have got my card. So let's look at print preview to make sure we've got red lines at the bottom, red lines at the top, and blue lines across the center. So everything's anchored, and then we can export our card. I'm going to go ahead and go to Export Project Rendering as SVG and just save it on my desktop. Oh, no, before I export it, I'll save it. Save as, and we'll call this Building Block Card 2 and save it. Now when I go to export, it takes the name that I saved. So we'll go to Export Project Rendering as SVG file, and now it automatically assigns the name. That just saves me a step. So let's see, where will I save it? Oh yeah, to my desktop. Now, whatever software you have that is set up for opening your SVG files, that's where they'll come. And since I'm cutting on my Pazzles, it automatically opens in Pazzles with the colored score lines ready to go. So at this point, I could add the extra on the card, but let's do it Susan's way. Let's go back up to Popup Card Studio. And Susan says to change, can we do this on global operations, right?
Sure can, yep.
So you said change the height to double. So I'm going to change it to 7. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So
right.
now my card.
Export it, and then all you have to do is take off the side that you don't want.
Okay. So what I'll do now is I'm going to save as, and we'll call this Building Blocks Card 3. Save. And we go to File, Export, Project Rendering as SVG. And again, the software that you have designated to open your SVG files should open. I wish Make the Cut would open this way. Now you see that I've got more card up here than I need, but I already have this here. And sometimes it's a lot easier to get rid of excess than it is to add more. So let's go to Make the Cut, and we'll click on SVG and get the Building Blocks 3, and I'll change that to a lighter color here. And I want the total card to be, let's see how long this card is. It's 3.5, 7, 10.5 inches. So I need to get rid of part of this. I'll select all and move it down. And there's a couple ways to do this. I could just break it, but if I click this line to make it green and right click to make sure it's a line.
No, Julie.
Yeah.
Just go to the side one. No, don't do that. Go to the
side one.
And make a midway point node. And then break it both sides, and then just join to with a line.
Okay, so I could do it this way, but I'll undo. Where'd it go? It's really weird. Oh. Get back to where it was. Okay. So if I click the node editing, you're saying that I can do it halfway?
Yeah, insert a halfway node. Right click. Midway,
Insert node?
No, next one down. Insert midway point.
Okay, and I do the same thing here. Left click.
Yep.
Right click. Insert midpoint.
Yep. Then take away the top half. Then.
So this, I'm going to click it and delete.
Yep.
And then I'll just draw a new line.
Yep.
Left click and right click. And I can get rid of this one here by just clicking it and deleting. Okay, so now I have my card without measuring. That was nice. And I need to add another score line at the midpoint. So let's see if we can do that. Click this line. It's not really halfway to that one. It's halfway to this one. Double click. Right click, convert to line. Right click, insert midpoint. You learn something new every day. Left click, double click. I think it's going to be crooked. I better undo. Double click. Now click it, left click, right click, insert midpoint. Now when I get my pen, it didn't insert and point, did it? It did, but I can't see it. So at this point, I'm going to put my snapping on. And right at that point right there is where I want to draw my line. So left click and right click. I could see if I put it in the right place, I can measure here. Left click. And it says it's at 2 3/4, but it's supposed to be at 3 1/2, so I didn't put it at the right place. 1, 2, 3 1/2. Hold the control till you get it near where you want. So now we have the center of the card here, the right half of the card here, and the left piece here. I wonder if the measurements are right. Click on the ruler down here and left click to here. And at the top we see that's 3 1/2 inches, right where it should be. Then we go from here to here. And it's 3 1/2 inches. So we have our card ready. Now if you notice that I have all solid lines, and that's because I have set my Popup Card Studio to engrave all of my score lines instead of cutting them, because I get much better folding results with these engraved. So what I'm going to do is click on this card and send it to its own layer with the cut lines, hide that, and all the rest are to be scored. So I'm going to call those lines engraved. And that way I have it separate, so when I cut this card, I'll remember to put in my engraving tool when I'm ready to make these lines right here. So first I will hide my cut lines and I will put my engraving tool in the machine. Then I will hide that, send it through my machine with the blade, and cut this. Now with the force, we can select all of it, and we can, in the software, we can assign the right tool to the score lines, and we can assign the left tool to the cut lines and do it all in one single pass, which is really nice. So let's take a look at that card again. That's this card. I did this lattice and make the cut. The rose is from the gallery, and the vase is from the gallery. And I use a Zaf Chancery font. And this is all printed with the same font, but I did a print and cut with the two panels here. And then to get the inside pieces, the nice thing that we can do in this software is we can go to File, Project Shapes as SVG. It'll give the same name but add shapes to it so that we can import those also. So I'll give it a new layer here and import SVG, and I'll import shapes. Now some of these shapes I don't need. I don't need the background because I'm not going to use that, but what I do need is these little pieces here. I only need, well, I can do both at the same time. What I'm going to do is click on shadow, and I'd like an inset shadow, so I do a minus, and I'd like the shadow to be maybe 1/10. Yeah, that's good. And then accept. Do they all go to as one? Now, I'd rather do it this way. Undo. I'd rather take these apart so that I have 8 different pieces because I want a space. Each one of these blocks is separate. If you had something hanging over the edge, you could do it all at once, but I would like 8 different blocks. So now I have those. I can send them to their own layer. I can get rid of these. So I want to get rid of the green ones. And maybe I'll change these. I'll put them to be purple. And separate them again so that I can drag them over to their positions. I don't really need snapping on. And then I can move these over so I can see what it's supposed to look like. Now for these sections in here, to get the panels for either side, I just click on one, hold Control Shift and drag, and you could eyeball it, or you can actually resize it a 1/4 of an inch smaller than what it was. So let's see, these are 5.5, so 5.25, and this was 2 inches, so 1 3/4, 1.75. So that gives it pretty much the same. The Control Shift and drag, and I